Welcome to the Voluntary Option with your host, Peter Yates.
Well, hello, everyone. Pete Yapel, the host of the Voluntary Option. I'm glad you're joining us here again this week. Sitting here at the Garden of Freedom, my freedom shirt on. My freedom is always on my hat. And why? Because freedom is what's important to me. The freedom to be able to make the choices I decide that I choose that are best for me, so that I can live the best life that I choose. And I hope you choose to pick to do the same thing. But the one thing I've learned over the 56 years that I've been alive is that the R's and the D's just haven't done it for me. They haven't kept a promise. They have never had my best interest in mind. And, when people, and this is not to create controversy when we do the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, none of our lives at this point in time, in my opinion, matter to our government. Ask anybody in Oregon right now that's got the federal freaking police sitting on the roads, arresting them, putting them in cuffs, and with their name badges now covered. Why? Because they've been doxxed. 38 officials have been doxxed, and their families now, they say, are in danger, and this, that, and the other thing. Well, if you're out ready to shoot fellow American citizens, arrest fellow American citizens, beat down fellow American citizens, why shouldn't your family be subjected to the same punishment, in my opinion? Not that I'm encouraging anyone to go out and hurt anybody. Believe me, I believe in a nonviolent society. But when we have a federal government that cares nothing about us and is sending troops into towns and into cities to control things, that's where we've crossed the line. That's when we are no longer American. Listen, tonight I've got two fellow New Yorkers on my show. I've got Tim O'Connor, who's running for Senate, as well as Thomas Queter is doing the same thing. I can't wait to speak to these guys. I kind of miss home a little bit. Not that I ever want to live there again, guys. Sorry about that. I've got the taste of those beautiful skylines and mountains and warm weather pretty much all year long that I get to enjoy. Less taxes. I mean, heck, I know I'll probably make you both jealous right now when I tell you my property taxes are $130 a year, but that's truly what it is. So, I had to get out from under Cuomo's finger and thumb and foot and knee in my throat, like has happened to many other people that we happen to be marching for right now. But the man is a sick man, and the man really, truly needs to be removed from government. The only way we're going to do that is to increase third-party candidates, increase third-party voices within the system. And why? We've been having like this parliamentary system of the Whigs and the whatever on the one side and the other. You might as well be back in England, where you've got two sides fighting with each other constantly. No one has anybody else's interest in mind. It's just who's going to get their pocket filled first. Well, let's hope that libertarians, as I know them, can actually literally walk into it and not put on the ring of power and be fooled and be drawn in by it. It was one of Adam Kokesh's biggest things for running for president this year, when he said, any candidate, when you have the ring of power, are you going to don it, or are you going to throw it into the fires of Mordor? Well, that's what we believe that should happen. Hobbits like ourselves, regular, normal people that have been the backbone that support all of this country, should be the ones with say. Let's not forget, we elect officials to portray our voice, not to invoke their own agendas. Well, that's enough of that stuff. I got to tell you a little bit about freedom, though, today here in the Garden of Freedom. We live a life here of communal living, guys, where everybody shows respect for each other. And that has been one of the biggest reasons why, and you can be yourself. That's the thing. As long as you're yourself and you're not harming anyone else, you're living in a nonviolent way, it's truly a beautiful way to live. And libertarians embrace that. Please do me a favor and visit www.patreon.com/CWT42TVO. That is my Patreon and my wife's Patreon page for our podcasts. Listen, guys, as activists, all we do is dump and empty our pockets. Become a member, and you'll see there are value levels from $5 a month to $100 a month. As you go up the chain, obviously there's more benefits to it. And each month you could receive in the mail, without having to order, fuss, or anything, whatever level that you join in at, there is actually product that goes along with it that you'll receive at your home every month without you having to worry about ordering it. And yes, I'm a cannabis activist. So most of our products, if not all, are infused with CBD. So please take a look at the Patreon page, support us, keep this production going as well as others. Well, well, guys, I want to get right into it because I only do like an hour show, and I got two guys on here that I love to talk to, and we'll probably run over. But first off, I want to take a time to introduce Thomas Queter and Tim O'Connor. And Jim, if you please bring both of the guys onto the screen. They're good friends, and I think we can all talk together and share ideas. I think it's just a little bit easier. First off, Tim, I want to thank you for joining us here today. Why don't you let everybody know a little bit about yourself and what office you're running for in which district in New York, please?
Okay, so my name's Tim O'Connor, and I'm running for New York State Senate. It's District 51. The land mass of District 51 is like roughly the size of Connecticut, just in upstate New York, where the agricultural heart, where the Rust Belt. And guys, let's be real. People tell me about economic decline. I can see economic decline every day I drive around my neighborhoods. It's sad, but there's hope, right? And what we have to do is exactly what you said. We've got to find a way to realize that the two-party system does not, and it's basically an excuse to not represent us. And we want to stay on positive stuff tonight, so maybe I don't want to focus on that stuff, but I want to point out that you're exactly right, Pete. I mean, it's literally an excuse to not represent us. We have people asking their Republican representatives, what can we do about Cuomo? And the only answer they come up with is nothing, because the Democrats are in charge. So they literally get to sidestep their responsibility by propping up the Democratic Party. So it's a mistake. We've got to fix it. Queter and myself are doing the work. We're going to do what we can to fix it. I'm not even joking.
I know. Hey, listen, I can feel for you, especially in an agriculture environment. I grew up in the Hudson Valley, and probably the saddest part was like in the 90s, late 80s and 90s, when I started to watch all of my friends' family farms close, and because they couldn't compete and they couldn't keep up, and it was such a hard thing to see. Generations and generations, 4 or 5 back. And now here they got to up and sell their farms off or sell it out for land for development. It was horrible. So I could definitely feel for the people in your area.
Yeah, I got one more kind of depressing note on that. My younger brother inherited some land, and he bought 40 cows, and he got certified organic, and he's been struggling to find someone to come buy his milk. And there's no one that will come up and buy his milk. So yesterday, actually, he sent his herd off to the auction. He's had him for about a year. He was living his best life. And dudes, the powers that be, the systems that are in place, all right, and he's resilient, man. He'll come up with something else. But the opportunity, we need to rebuild it. We need to be able to make upstate New York look attractive to people like you that have left. And that's our goal, man. That's what we're going to do. And that's where we're at. We're going to do the work, man.
We need to make it easier for people like your brother to sell raw milk. It's nice and safe with a UV sterilizer. It brings a higher dollar. It delivers a better, healthier product, and it's in high demand.
Yeah. We couldn't get anybody to come buy it. Yeah.
Thomas, thank you for joining us. And why don't you let everybody know a little about you and where you're running at the moment?
Well, my name is Thomas Daniel Queter. I'm running for Senate in District 52. We're really shaping up this campaign. We outraised my opponent in the month of June by a factor of 4. But the unfortunate reality there is that he's got this gigantic war chest, right? He has money. I live on SSI. I don't have money.
Right.
And, so TomFor52.com, please donate if you can. We're making some traction. We're making some waves. And people are reaching out to me now. We're at the point where interest groups are seeking my attention, seeking my input, seeking to talk to me to see if I'm worth the endorsement. And that's quite the opposite of the beginning of the campaign. You know, being a libertarian, relatively unknown, you're reaching out, you're trying to make those connections and be seen and heard. And now it's switched. Now they're seeking me, and I think that's amazing. It's actually blowing my mind almost every day. And
Well,
actually,
the thing that gets me, is that if people take 5 minutes to embrace the LP, and please, guys, visit the LP.org, read what we're about. I mean, please read what we're about, and you will find out surely how libertarian your thoughts are. Most people truly are libertarian at heart, but the problem being with that is we have to try to find a way to switch people's opinions and thought processes when they ask you, well, what ticket are you running under? And then you go, well, I'm libertarian. And they're like, oh, well, there's a wasted vote. We don't have wasted votes. If people would understand platforms within the LP that generally work around the principle of localization and bringing things back to community, because that way we eliminate corporate control. We eliminate the powers that be having all of that over us. We can buy safer, more fresh, and better products right in our own backyard than we can getting them sent from Mexico and China and wherever else they're coming from at this time.
I picked my dinner today.
Yeah, I know. And listen, I love the food you post every day, man. You eat really well. I got to give you that, man.
Yeah, not bad for $2 to $5 a plate.
No, right. And that's another thing that people don't understand, that it is not expensive. It's less expensive to buy things around, and they're grown and produced around your home. They don't have all that shipping cost. They don't have all that added into the price. We could truly build community, save our environment, save our communities, be a better place. Now, again, that's all libertarian in principle. We
can also save our taxes. A lot of that food is subsidized.
Well, listen, that's a whole nother subject, because if you ask me, that's complete theft. That taxes are theft. That's all.
We agree, man. We agree.
Yeah. But the reality is, as a population, we do have a choice for what we buy, and if we don't support each other locally, then that just makes more room for the bigger guys to come in and lobby our politicians for subsidies, which don't ever give a good return. And in regards to our food system, it drives up the price of our healthcare because it makes people sick. So,
absolutely.
As you know, I was in Orlando, and I'm going through the deli line, right? And I'm checking out, paying. And the gentleman on the other side of the counter, he asked me what my condition is, and he's talking to me. And it turns out his son has a disability, also in a wheelchair in New York. And he gave me his phone number, and I called him this morning and talked to him. And then he talked to his son, and his son called me. And what I found out, this is interesting. He's got diabetes type 1, as well as a couple other conditions that are pretty severe. And in his situation, if he gets sick, he has to use more of those test strips for his blood sugar. And they won't give him more than if he doesn't get sick in a month. So then he ends up with diabetes type 1, right? That's pretty severe. He ends up going weeks without enough strips. And that can kill people. That kills people.
Yes.
That's insane.
I watched a show. We covered it last night on Canada We Talk, our other podcast, me and my wife's podcast. And the name of the show is What the Health. And if you watch that show, it'll make you sick. It'll literally make you sick to know what they're feeding you rather than what you think you're eating. And there's another series on Netflix that I implore everybody to take a look at, and it's called Rotten, Rotten. And it's I think there's 2 seasons out right now of it. But it explains to you about if people really don't know where their food was. A big part of the last show I watched was about the fishing industry in Massachusetts, and how it's the largest producing of fish, especially in the United States, but produces for the whole world. These people catch fish for the whole world, But what we don't understand as Americans, we sell the fish we catch there to China. China then sells it back to us. That's why you're paying so much money, guys. We have got to stop this stuff, man.
We do the same thing with
There's
chicken.
no reason I'm buying a fish from the Chesapeake Bay, and it's going all the way to head to to China and Singapore and other areas of the world, being processed and then sent back to me and paying an inflated price. It's really sickening. But
and that process wastes a lot of fossil fuels. But if I can get back to that story about this gentleman for a minute,
yes.
he wants, and he should have, that there's a device that actually hooks to your cell phone, and it can reach your skin, so there's no prick, and it's reusable. There's no strips, so in the long term, it's a cheaper option, but it's not covered. So what we're going to try to do is crowdfund that for him, just like libertarians crowdfunded my wheelchair, which saved my life. So let's see if we can pay that forward. If you're out there, keep an eye out. We're going to be doing this. We're going to be looking to help this guy out so that he doesn't have to go weeks without testing his blood sugar.
Absolutely. I'll share that all around too. And the thing about it, and which I will applaud you for, is I'm sure there isn't a Republican or a Democratic candidate that is out stopping at a deli line, having somebody speak to them, and then them going home and in turn really trying to help the person, man. And that's the difference in our party, I believe.
Direct help works far better than our systems. Far better.
Absolutely.
And actually, he needs a surgery as well. And with the legislative overreach of our governor recently, he has deprioritized. New York and a handful of other states have deprioritized the treatment of those with disabilities. Tell me that's not going to kill people. You know what I mean? You didn't protect our healthcare workers. You didn't protect those that were very obviously at risk, like the elderly. And that's where our death rates are. And the positive swing on this, is that we can do better if we're allowed, or not beholden, or if we defy the unjust laws. Reach out, do some good, find somebody that you can help. That's all you have to do. I've been doing it for years. It's so incredibly easy with today's technology. You can find someone that has a problem. You can do some research on the internet. Sometimes you even personally don't have to do anything more than send a link, and then they have an avenue to their help. That is so easy to do. We can all do that.
Tim, what's your thoughts on healthcare? How do you think that it could be solved other than the obvious, taking it away from the government and privatizing it?
Well, I think there's lots of issues. I don't know if you noticed, but I had a conversation with a guy named Dr. Mark Barretto. He's right down in our local area. He's an absolute blast to talk to, guys. So if you get to my page and you check out our video and follow it through to Dr. Mark Barretto's Family Medicine, what he's done, and this is working within our current system. I'd like to revamp the entire thing, reset it up, restructure, bring it closer to home. But what he has done is gone with this membership style general practitioner. So for $1,200 a year, you, at the very least, he would come up with a system where you could monitor your blood sugar whenever and however you want. That's one of the things that he's promised me. The other thing that he is certified in is opiate addiction treatments. And so he's MAT certified. And guys, I'm learning new stuff every day. So bear with me if I don't know exactly what I'm talking about. But what he's licensed to treat up to 30 people who are suffering from opiate addictions, and offered them medicine that helps them transition away from the dangerous drugs that they find on the street, and prescription medicine that gets overprescribed. So he's a guy that saves your life. So at $1,200 a year, you can take all your deductibles, all your spend downs, put them right up to the max, keep some sort of catastrophic policy, and if your health is medium to moderate, you'll literally make money. Okay, like I have a thing that he could monitor for me that already cost me $100 a month with my insurance. So hopefully I can work out the numbers and make it pay off. And that's thanks to my wife, by the way. I'm an independent contractor. All those guys out there that are independent contractors, thanks to my wife, I have health insurance that works most of the time. All right, so I'm lucky like that. And lots of people.
That you are, Tim. I mean, I have 3 insurances that cover very little for me.
Yeah. Well, big government solution, guys. Let's talk about that. Let's point right our angry libertarian fingers right at a big government solution that all it did was decrease the quality of healthcare provided. They forced us to buy a product under penalty of law, under literally penalty of losing your house, your car, your possessions, okay? To not promise you actual health care. Like
It
it's a
also
product.
degraded the quality of services and products you can get.
It did, brother. You know better than anybody. I know. We know that was the net effect. You can go back 12 years ago on my Facebook page. I'm saying that what you guys are saying is going to do is impossible. That is not what it can happen. That's not how it works. When we force people through legislation to buy a product, that's what the Commerce Clause of the United States Constitution is about. You cannot force individuals to buy a product, and they did, and it's a crappy product, man.
They literally sold the idea that you can squeeze blood from a stone.
I know, man.
I love to use the Constitution. I love to use the Constitution in defense too. But I'm going to, as I go down the list, I haven't seen any of the amendments that have been placed in that have been for our better good, that haven't been bastardized, or they say, well, sorry, it ain't going to work that way for you. The only one that truly works is the Fifth Amendment when they need to plea it. And that's the only time, that's the only amendment I see that hasn't lost any steam. When someone in government is being put on a stand and they don't want to say, yeah, you know what, I've been screwing you for a long time. All they got to do is say, oh, well, I plead the Fifth, and we'll believe that we'll be okay with that one. But heaven forbid the person that goes out and speaks up about disability, about cannabis freedom, about taxes being forced upon us, about them forcing everything that they do. We have allowed our government as American people, by electing people that are nothing but employees of the government and of this nest of cesspool of people that just like to line their pockets and have not our best interest in mind.
And those are the people that the Fifth Amendment tends to protect the most.
Yeah.
Those complicit in the system.
But,
yeah,
I think they don't want to get rid of that one, because then it's not going to help them out any. But healthcare in general, like you're saying. I mean, I'm on Medicare. I live on Social Security disability. I'm a very sick dude myself, but I don't have any other supplements. And you cannot get dental or eyeglasses. And the older I get, and with the pharmaceutical damage that's been done to me, my teeth have rotted out of my mouth. You know, my vision is going bad. I see three visions stacked on top of each other out of my right eye. I can't get these surgeries. I cannot get teeth. I can't get any of that under our current healthcare system. And to me, that's a shame and a crime.
You know, I could speak to that too, because a few years ago, an article came out where they actually studied the cost variance of healthcare from place to place. And one thing that study pointed out, and this was years ago, for the cost of a single hip replacement out of pocket in this country, you could fly to Spain, get your hip replaced, vacation for 2 years, run for the bulls, screw up your other hip, get that one replaced, and fly home. The same price as one hip replacement here. And now we're being forced to pay for it.
It's absolutely crazy.
But you know, and let's get back to positive notes here. We're going to be helping this gentleman, and he's not the first individual my campaign has helped. I've got another volunteer, Audrey Joy. When this first went down in New York and we were seeing the food shortages and people didn't want to go to the store if they were at risk, she was just out there adamantly making trips, making runs, people on their diet. And I was helping her with that because I'm so well versed in it. And actually, just today, a social worker sent me a text message maybe 30 minutes ago asking for a natural remedy for toothaches with severe tooth problems, because she knows I do that for myself. And she has another consumer who can't get treated because of the lockdown situation here in New York.
Yeah, and there's always something that grows outside your door that'll work better than anything that they can produce in a lab, and that's just my general opinion too. I haven't been in better health since I've gotten off all my pharmaceuticals.
For me, it's more than an opinion. I've had to do it. I've always lacked access to the bulk of healthcare that other people have taken for granted. Some procedures or exams or scans that I've been told I need, I get there and it's not accessible, and they say, that's nuts. It's not that
Yeah.
hard. It's not that difficult. I mean, if they would have let me, I could have brought in some plywood and made that scan machine more accessible for me, and had my heart checked out. I potentially have a heart condition that I don't know anything about.
Well, that's a shame, man. I'm sorry to hear all that, but
Oh,
that's just the system.
whatever, man. I don't really think twice about it personally, but I think about other people in those situations, and they don't have the same tenacity as me most times. I mean, some of them really do, but I grew up in a very poor family, so to survive, to live, we did for ourselves, we taught ourselves, we researched, we learned things. It's imperative. It's imperative to do for yourself. It's imperative to learn for yourself, because if you rely on others, then you are relying on those people who can make mistakes. You are relying on those people who don't have a vested interest in your own life as you do. If you have a vested interest in yourself, if you take that initiative, if you go out there and you figure it out, then you're the only one that's really going to be the expert. No one else. I mean, you can utilize medical staff, absolutely, but you still need to know what you're going through.
I think that's what they rely on, though. The government itself relies on people to either be one of two things: lazy or just give up. And most of the time, that's what most do. But like you're saying, if we can be that voice and we can be that hand on their back to hold them up, we don't have to do everything for them. But if we can guide them in the right way and let them know that, hey, there's other people out here going through the same thing you are. And if you choose and elect people with these like and same principles, you're only going to have a better life.
I want to take the minute to plug something that my campaign is working on. We're looking at holding a workshop for helping other libertarian candidates learn how to talk to those with disabilities and about health care, and to do it in a positive manner, and to do it in a way that brings understanding. I did a workshop myself in Orlando, and the people who were there were really enthused and really interested. We had some good dialogues. One of those gentlemen was a disabled vet who was almost one of the 22 a day. And we had a dialogue about Medicare and the VA. And I was talking about Medicare, and he's familiar with the VA. And in the conversation, he pointed out, just as some libertarians already do, that Medicare for all is basically the VA for all.
Yes, that's very true. That's very, very true.
He also pointed out that in his situation, there's line item caps for equipment, right? The government says we'll spend this much money maximum. Well, then what you find out is that every piece of equipment that falls in that category maxes out at that price, whether it's worth it or not.
Amazing, right? It's just amazing that that's how that works.
Listen, it's not only with healthcare. They do the same thing with your vehicles. They sell these people.
Yep.
They sell people these extended warranties, and the extended warranty costs you $2,000. Then you got a $2,000 deductible, and your transmission costs you $4,000. So now you got to pay $2,000 on top of the $2,000 that you got to pay for your deductible, and the $2,000 you paid $6,000 for a $2,000 transmission. And people fall into it all the time, man. It's so horrible.
Yeah.
I feel bad for them when they do.
Right, but there's solutions to all of these things that we can all seek. In my family, we've never owned a new vehicle. Never. Find one that's a good quality. Do your research. Find one that's good price. Find someone that needs to sell it sooner than later, and you can get a better price. You get more out of it. It lasts longer in most cases for your dollar. That's one way. Raising your own food, that saves you on the grocery bill. My parents turned a $16,000 house into a $250,000 house. It took them 30 years, but they did it by not buying so many groceries.
Right. And listen, I'll tell you, when I left New York, the last year we lived in New York, I didn't buy a vegetable from May until November. because we grew it in our backyard. We canned things, we had things frozen, we ate fresh right from our own yard. And I lived in a development, mind you. I lived in a townhouse. So I didn't have a big mass piece of property. I had a fenced in backyard. We cut a garden into it. We grew our own food. I mean, I'd love to do that anyway, but honestly, we went from May to November without having to buy a piece of produce from the grocery store.
It really doesn't take much. We have what's considered a large garden. It's actually only about a third the size of it used to be, but this household puts up 200 quarts of tomato products. That's several different products every year. And do we use 200 quarts? No, but you know what? My brother's next door. My aunt and uncle are there. I've got cousins everywhere. When you overproduce, you help each other. And maybe they've got more cucumbers or whatever. And you just share and share alike. And everybody gets a different bumper crop often enough. I was outside earlier with a volunteer who's quarantining with me because she was in Orlando with me. And the interesting thing there is we picked dinner. We just picked it. Went outside of the backyard, picked dinner. How hard is that? That's a meal for free.
And nothing tastes better. It just doesn't taste better. I mean, there's no way you can compare the taste.
Doing for yourself always saves money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I don't even own a piece of furniture that wasn't used, upcycled, recycled, or built by either myself or someone else in the family.
We libertarians do more with less, brother.
Absolutely.
I'm in the same boat. I mean, I bought an old house 25 years ago. I've been working on it ever since, and it's how we provide our kids with stuff and still have money to go buy them ice cream and whatnot. Because if you don't mind me segueing into something else, one of the things I did last night, as a senatorial candidate, I feel like there's things that I can impact and there's things that I can't. And it goes to this issue of how our rights and how we are not being represented and how we can try to change our local governance. So I had a guy on my, on my page talking with me live about how he's proactively going after Otsego County and try to get them to declare Otsego County a Second Amendment sanctuary. Now, will he ultimately be successful? I hope so. And he's willing to do the work, and I'm willing to help him. And there's plenty of people in Otsego County that recognize that the Second Amendment is another constitutional right that we have slowly chipped away at to deny ourselves individual liberty. And when they talk about they teach us something funny in high school that isn't true or grade school, okay? The system of checks and balances, how the legislator checks and balances the executive, and how the judicial checks and balances both of them. We are supposed to be the check and balance against all of them through the judiciary. And why we haven't, guys, and I'm going to lose my temper for a second, why we haven't been able to do that is because we can't access courts, and they did that on purpose, okay? If I know a guy trying to sue to get his property back, it's been tied up since the year 2012. They took $140,000 from that guy because they were afraid he was going to drill for natural gas, period. He was 1 year behind. His wife was sick. They took
Save the Forest Farm.
SaveTheForestFarm.com. Guys, please go there. Please help out my friend Robert. That's the bottom line. But that's the system libertarians want to fix. We talk about it all the time. Guys like us need to be able to access a court without going broke before we get justice. That is something we've got to change, period. Everybody.
Absolutely.
There's an interesting thing that I learned yesterday. We were researching this legislative overreach that happened in New York. And, a lot of the Republican candidates are trying to hold on to their seat. They're blaming the Democrats. They're just, it's all the Democrats. You know what I learned? I learned that 87 Democratic assemblymen did not vote for the overreach. They voted against it. They voted no. And of course, it's all the Democrats. And, I do speak to both well. And what I'm finding is that in the lower end of my district, Democrats are whipping for me. They love me. And in the northern district, when I make my campaign calls to the people I know and the locals, and we talk, well, I don't like the other guy. And they're more conservative. So, we were talking about the Libertarian Party earlier. and that's, it doesn't really matter. Well, I do find that most people are more libertarian than they are Democratic or Republican. And the easy way to do that is to have the conversation, find their issues, and talk about the libertarian perspective, and then direct them directly to the libertarian platform on the national website.
That's the truth. That's the only way to do it. When I speak to people in general, even people in general, I don't bash Republicans, bash Democrats when I'm speaking about having them come to the libertarians. That's the counterproductive way to do it. If you can show your positives and show what you stand for and the principles which guide you, that's the win-win with it. It's not bashing the other guy that much. I mean, do we end up bashing them? Of course, because they don't follow principle and they don't follow the rules and they don't do things the proper way.
And
but having that LP, having the LP.org and having our principles listed the way they are for people to actually just go and read them is a beautiful thing. And I think that's a win for us.
And, I'd like to speak about incumbents for a minute. When you vote in a legislator of any kind or any political seat, what you are doing is you are using your vote to buy a contract with a representative. Okay? Your representatives are contracted with you to do what they say they're going to do. And for that record, for that point, when you're going to vote and there's an incumbent involved, check out their voting record, check out their campaign promises, compare. Because if they've broken that contract, then you need to vote somewhere else. Why would you keep making contracts with someone who is just going to break them again?
That's right. You wouldn't hire a guy to build your deck that you fell through 3 times. You know what I mean? Why would you keep electing the same guy that's just falling through his own deck? That's the way I look at it.
Yep. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 17 times, shame on some legislator.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Shame on a duopoly that lies to us every day from both sides of the aisle, brothers. That's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely with that too. And how is the LP still under attack in New York for ballot access?
Oh yeah. Right now we need to get approximately 160,000 plus votes for the Libertarian presidential campaign in order to maintain ballot access. And it's looking like all other third parties are going to go the wayside. We still have a chance. We're going to fight for it. That's what libertarians do. We're going to try to spread the message. We're going to try to encourage people to vote for Joe Jorgensen, because that's an avenue that we can take to protect our right of association, to protect our right to have our own political parties. And if we can do that, we can continue to grow the LP in New York, and we can spread the message of, well, okay, you don't want to be a libertarian? Be a Green Party, Working Families Party, Conservative Party, Independence Party. Let's let them all just be.
Mm-hmm. No, and I agree with that, but I think that a lot that goes on, and maybe some concern or worry about Joe maybe at least getting the percentages she needs to get. That's the Kanye entry into this. I mean, let's be realistic. The man shouldn't be president, in my opinion. I don't think he really has a political base to truly say, hey, listen, I can run a nation. But those votes and the people that'll vote for him, they'll be the people that would have voted third party or something. And that's the part that bothers me, that they do these things in the end. It was kind of like the Amash sneak in to try to get Amash into the presidential, realm for the LNC. And, to me, it was like, dude, we're not going to fall for that again. We're not. I mean, he's not even running for re-election. I mean,
no, but as far as I know, he's still a libertarian, is he not?
Yes, he hasn't changed that. That's one thing he hasn't changed.
Welcome a new libertarian. Let's help him out. Let's encourage him to go somewhere. And as far as Kanye goes, to my knowledge, he's only on the ballot in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma is pretty free about their ballot access.
I think he's not in 2 states actually, but I don't know. All I just know is that to me, it's just always like a bone they throw for the people that really have to pay attention, and getting people's attention and making people understand that you don't have to rely on government for everything. I mean, people sit back and treat government like it's their mother and their father. and like their mother and father own them something, or they've got to ask permission. And it's just so horrible, man, that people really truly believe. But yet they'll sit back and go, "We live in a free country. I get to make my own decisions."
Oh, yeah.
I love the people that go, "Well, then go move to another country." Wait a minute. No, why would I want to leave the country? I'm fighting for the country we had, you fools. I don't want to leave the country. I just want the country back.
The Libertarian Party, in my mind, is a legislative or a bureaucratic form of 1776. We don't need the guns to do this. We can just participate. We can do the work. We can get out there. We can be loud if we have to. But the real key is to make sure that our candidates are focused, to make sure that our campaigns are focused, to make sure that we're actually doing the work, that we're actually getting out there, that we are reaching out to the groups that are already formed for this reason, that reason, and showing them what the libertarian option for them is. I was fortunate enough to join an initiative. I forget what they're calling themselves, but it's in Endicott, and they're trying to allow foreign companies to come in, and what they're going to put in Endicott, where people live next to ball fields and grocery stores, is a lithium battery incinerator that they claim to be safe, but are not backing it up. And the experts that this group has, and they're real experts, they're claiming that the systems that they're putting in are not going to work. The nano pollution is going to go everywhere and settle on those ballparks and those homes and in the parking lot of that grocery store and get sucked in by their air systems. And in regards to solutions, right, what we do here is what these people are doing. They form a group. They take their own initiative. They develop their own fundraiser. They raise the money to fight it. And I tell you what, I think they're going to gain some traction. And if they don't win, then, boy, don't vote in any incumbents.
Yeah.
Right. And that's something we got to look at.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim, I want to ask Jim Freedom real quick. Jim, have we had any questions come up online? Has anybody been in the chat that said anything interesting to these guys or want to know anything from them?
Okay, this is I don't know if you guys, Todd is a great friend of mine. This is one of the questions that we as politicians will have to face, will have to deal with, right? So as a New York State Senator, he's asking, how would I be able to help someone access their unemployment benefits? And so long term, our goal is to do away with systems that actually don't work. Our response to COVID, the government response to COVID, broke the unemployment system. Now, what
Yes.
you can do, and even as an advocate, I found someone, I made some calls, I did some clickety clacks and sent out some emails. If you're persistent, you can help people find their unemployment benefits. It's not easy. A guy like Queter would probably be able to do it like in his sleep because he's used to having to fight these systems. But the long-term solution, obviously, is to figure out how we can make life less expensive for everyone, have more opportunity here, and respond appropriately to disasters like COVID in the future. I think that in upstate New York, I think it would be hard to argue that we overreacted on some levels when it came down to shutting down manufacturing businesses and opportunities for people to earn their living. With all respect to people's fear of being sick and people's comorbidity possibilities, if you're diabetic, if you're old, we have to treat you differently. It's not like discrimination, guys. It's look at the stats. Let's take care of our neighbor, man. Like, let's do those things in a better way and keep the engines that we've already accepted of our economy open appropriately. And we failed. One size fits all, prescriptive, top down, nanny state, like you were saying, mom and dad asking them for permission, has always failed upstate New York and continues to fail upstate New York in this COVID crisis.
And when it comes to people's fears over these things, whether or not we agree with wearing a mask or using PPE of any kind, here's the thing: when your neighbors are terrified, whether it's valid or not, you have to respect their fear. If you're going to go visit them, wear that mask. And to that note, my door knockers are going to be wearing masks, using PPE, and keeping their distance, because that's respectful, and a lot of people are afraid. And you know what? Fear can become a disease too. Fear can become a
Yeah,
psychological
that's
disease,
that.
and we need to respect that. We need to make sure that we're being careful. I personally, I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but you got to love your neighbor, and if your neighbor is terrified, there's no reason to go scare him.
Yeah, I agree, brother. You know
Right,
that.
but the thing that I worry about with general society is yes, they have had this fear instilled by media and by government and such. They've had it instilled by them, but at the same time, they always are referring to the CDC. Well, if you
Yeah.
read the CDC is saying you're not in danger, or very such a minute percentage is really going to be seriously affected by this. So the problem with America again is the square box that they watch and that propaganda and that brainwashing that happens and that fear and don't do this or this, that, and the other thing. And people are worried about their freedom. Let's face it. If you live in California, Newsom will have your license taken away from you, $1,000 fine imposed upon you. If you don't, and this is every adult in the state, agree to 72 vaccinations to be pumped into your body. And whenever a new one comes in, you don't have a choice. You have to take it. There isn't a senior that has even strong health that could absorb 72 inoculations and
And
live through that. They can't.
we are guaranteed property rights. That's part of why we formed this nation. And the first piece
Mm-hmm.
of property that you're born with is your body. And that's why I do believe in
Yes.
bodily autonomy at all levels for all things. However, I'm not against vaccines. I'm against the controlled vaccine market. And that's largely because a controlled vaccine market is guaranteed lesser than the quality of a vaccine should one choose to get one. It's going to take away the
Yes,
freedom
but
of
again,
choice
it's
for one,
choice.
but ultimately, if you're a believer in vaccines, you should not want mandates because that's going to lessen the quality. It's going to take longer to develop, and it's going to have a greater rate of injury or death associated, which are numbers you can look up. And so the freedom aspect of that and the free market aspect of that is what keeps the product good. And do we want a lesser product from our healthcare? Is that what we want? We need to keep that free market. We need to do what Tim's friend is doing, which I have another friend who was looking into that, and she actually gave up because of how hard it was and the nature of her life. She couldn't do it. Now, I want to take a minute, and I want to plug myself if you allow, Peter. Um, I need donations and I need volunteers in district, and I need remote volunteers. If you're out there, tomfor52.com, or you can email campaign manager at tomfor52.com, and you can volunteer. We have a lot of remote work that's out there to do. Uh, and we really need boots on the ground. We're going to be canvassing. Our door knockers are going to be doing it safely. We're going to be running ads, but we need people. We need more people on the ground in the district. And, the sad part here is even though I'm outraising my opponent, he has so much money, he can buy his election. He can literally buy his election.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just a shame. That's a shame. And
Yeah.
Tom, why don't you take a minute too to do the same thing right now? If you need help in any way, please let us know, and Jim will put up your website as well.
Okay. So yeah, please put up my right there. Go to my Facebook page. What I am trying to do, guys, and I hope you don't mind the segue, but I see people talking about fear, okay, and I see people talking about basically let's face a certain reality. If we want to go with the diagnosis, our society is suffering from Munchausen, and our society is suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Those two things are real. Now, interestingly enough, I did a little bit of research. The treatment for those two things are the same thing. It's called talk therapy, guys. As libertarians, like what we're doing right now, we are having a conversation, and those conversations can build bridges, and that can help us grow our parties, guys. So I need volunteers, but I don't want to take away from Tom. Tom's race is way more. No offense, I'm an advocate. I'm growing liberty. This isn't a vanity run. This is a deliberate mission. Okay, I've been called to do something. I don't care by who or by what. But Tom, if Tom needs volunteers, volunteer for Tom. That's fine. If you have money that you can give me or you can give Tom, and you have the choice of one, give it to Tom for right now. down the road, guys, I'll be asking for help. I want to. I'm not sure that my race is winnable, but I'm already asking for your vote. But the bottom line is we have Tom in a position that can help everybody make a big statement coming up. And some of it's altruism, some of it's self-serving, guys. Like that. Don't worry about me. I've got things in the works. I'm going to help Tom. Tom is going to help me. Let's grow our party. Let's grow liberty. And let's treat this Stockholm syndrome, this Munchausen's, with conversations with people that we care about, that maybe we lost touch with because they went and bought into government-inspired terror, okay? Or they're angry at Donald Trump. All right, let's have those conversations. Or they're not angry at Donald Trump and they're angry at Joe Biden. Let's have those conversations. Let's not try to force them, because they're all smart enough that if we get them happier and healthier and help them see a little bit, they're going to see it our way. I had people on my Facebook page today I went to my Republican, I went to my Democrat saying, how can we stop Cuomo? And the answer was, donate $5 to a libertarian and send a screenshot to your representative, man. It's not going to take a lot. These guys are going to start listening, and it doesn't have to be me, but I don't care. Just do it. Slap them right in the nose with their behavior.
And when it comes to cross-party lines, to every assemblyman and senator who voted no to Cuomo's legislative overreach, for that moment, in that time, on that vote, I consider you a hero. You defended our rights. You may not have won. The bill still passed, but at least you did the right thing.
Yeah, that's right, and that's what it's all about.
I agree.
It's more important. It's more important for us to do the right thing than for anything. I mean, than anything, in my opinion. We've been lied to and bamboozled and twisted in 16 different directions for so long. We really truly need people that are going to represent us. Represent us, not just to benefit themselves. And that's all I've seen in the LP. Well, let me ask you a couple questions then really quick, both of you guys, while I got you on here. We are all libertarians. We just had a convention in Florida, which was a second one. We had our online one for Texas, which I was unfortunately, again, we couldn't go to. Didn't have one. It was all online. But this was a very different format than anyone has used so far. And I applaud it in some ways, because we didn't just say, no, we're not going to have our convention. We're going to bypass it and we're going to forget about this stuff. We can do elections online or whatever we wanted to do. But we do have a new LNC chair, and I want your guys' opinion on Joey. I personally, I'm glad he's running the show right now. And I hope he continues. I mean, I watched the meeting last week, and it was a really well-run meeting, and a lot got done. So, just your quick opinion on the LNC convention.
Do you mind if I go first, Tom? Because your story is better than mine. Do you mind if I go first? Here's the thing, guys. Guys like you that are doing the work of organizing a party get my undying gratitude for your efforts, for the risks and the sacrifices that you guys made to help present this. So my knowledge of Joe Bishop Henchman has come through you guys, party activists that not only, like Tom is still running for office, but guys that are building this party, this structure that we're going to need to be successful in the future. So all I can say,
Tim, JD6.
Yes, I did JD6. I am doing my part, guys, but I'm not there yet. All right. So, but you guys, what I know about him comes from you guys. I hear he's a good guy. That's good enough for me. That's how this works. So
I perceive Joe
way better than mine.
I perceive Joe Bishop Henchman from the couple of times that we talked as stable, level-headed, and in control of himself. And when you want a leader, that's what you need. You need somebody who's going to be stable. You need someone who's going to address the problem in a calm manner. You need someone who's going to do the right thing, but also do it without proliferating controversy and, let's face it, bullshit. We really just need someone who can sit there and do the job and do it appropriately. And Joe Bishop Henchman can absolutely do that.
I believe so too. I'll be 100% honest. I mean, I endorsed him on my show through my everything. I mean, I was in Josh's corner, Joshua Smith, and I love Josh. And I think he would have done a spectacular job as well. No one promotes and gets people to join this party and come to us better than Josh, in my opinion. But I'm glad he's back at large. He can still do the same job. And congratulations to you, Josh, on your new arrival coming in January and your new and the new woman in your life.
I also spoke to Josh a few times too, and I do believe that he is going to also help me fundraise. In fact, the interesting thing about the Orlando convention was realizing how much people knew me and knew who I was. I mean, the vice presidential candidate pointed at me, knew my name, said it correctly, approached me, and talked to me for an hour. Everyone from almost every state. It's hard to remember. I barely got any sleep. I had to talk constantly because I couldn't move 10 feet without people wanting to hear what I had to say. And to me, as someone who spent 10 years writing legislators and other elected officials regarding disability advocacy, to find a political party where everyone who is anyone wants to hear what I have to say, that's amazing. That's inclusion.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
That is the LP. That is the LP. I mean, we have every walk of life within our base, folks. We are you. We're everybody that you look at in the street. We are the people, and that is what one of the biggest things that attracted me to the party quite some time ago. And then when I got to work with Larry Sharp, that was the end all and kick all of it. Because that man there, I mean, I'd have done anything to have him beat Cuomo, and did. You know, I traveled to talk and hosted him and had him on our TV show and our radio show. That my TV show when I was back in New York, TV show and everything back in New York. I mean, and he embraced it. And I won Larry over because Larry was the guy that ran around at the beginning of his campaign going, cannabis should be like tomatoes. But he had no goddamn idea anything about cannabis. And when we interviewed him on our show and told him about the endocannabinoid system and how the plant was related to us in a sense, he said, Pete, I looked at you like you were crazy that day. I went home and I Googled every damn thing you said. I listened to everything you said back on the replay. And he goes, holy shit, you ain't kidding. And you know what you're talking about. And it completely changed his mind. Not that he was ever anti-cannabis. He always wanted cannabis free like everything else. But to understand that there is a viable reason why most of us that are activists fight for this plant. I mean, it saved my life. I owe this plant more than I owe anything. So, you know, to find a party that embraced it as well was just another win-win for us.
And you know, it's an excellent safety net for situations like this, where we're seeing our healthcare get shut down, where people can't get their prescriptions, where people can't get their pain relief or their treatment, or they can't move around to go get that, or they can't see the doctor. If it were free to grow and free to produce for yourself and untaxed, then those at the bottom who need it the most can have some relief and some happiness and find some peace in some of the worst situations you can imagine. Why would we deny that to the people? Let's not.
Well, we're doing right, and we're doing that right now. Me and my wife on our other show, every week we're giving away free CBD products. We're giving it to people because we know right now you probably need it most. And those that are home and are trapped and can't get out to the dispensary, that is like inflated, but the prices are completely inflated to begin with. If we can just be that ease, like here's a month you don't have to worry about going out and spending your money on, you know, on your health, you know, and feeling better. And or just for the people that say, well, I've always been interested in trying a cannabis product, but I just don't know or don't know what to do. And that's what we do on the other end. But like you're saying, it's not hard to take care of yourself. It's really not. You just have to read a bit and you have to understand what you're putting in you. And we need to
allow it to grow back into our culture so that people are more aware.
We need to allow it to be put back into every form, whether it be our earth that's been missing it, because it'll clean our soil. It rejuvenates. You could plant hemp in an oil-soaked field in 10 years, have nutrient or organically rich soil again, cleaned. It absorbs carbons. It gets them out. These are the things that people don't take into account. You know,
Yeah,
we didn't build a nation on hemp. We built our nation on hemp. We didn't build it that way on accident. We did that on purpose. I
and
mean,
you know,
and what we did was listen to we listened to people in government that were racist and had issue and didn't even have a reason or a right or a medical or scientific based decision to bastardize the most healthy thing we have growing out of our earth.
on that
I
note,
mean,
I was about 10 years old the first time I had a doctor get me alone and go try marijuana. Why would a doctor tell a 10-year-old to try marijuana if he didn't believe in it? There's another factor here. Marijuana is not a replacement for modern medicine. Modern medicine has come a long way. It does need to be cheaper, but I have an aunt who lives in Maine. She had a very, very low survival rate from cancer, and she had it taken out traditionally, and it came back, and so the survival rate was even less. And she just got cleared of cancer this year. And in Maine, they let you home grow as a patient. They let you
yeah,
purchase products quite easily, quite freely, that are medicinal. They combine it with other herbal medicines and traditional medicines and focused chemo for cancer, which is an intelligent form of treatment. All that put together, I have never seen her healthier or happier.
right. I honestly, with food, and I consider hemp a food because it's nutraceutical. Uh, uh, with food, you could pretty much eradicate anything, and that's the truth. If you change what you eat, how you put it in your body, and the things you're putting in you, you can pretty much assure you can make yourself healthy again.
Yeah, back to voluntary options, right? That's the name of this show. Um,
Yeah,
as I say almost every podcast that I'm on, the Libertarian Party saved my life when they crowdfunded this wheelchair for me. They paid a third of what the taxpayers would pay for one that would hurt me, and it's a better
right,
option. And it was voluntary. The Libertarian Party
right.
literally saved my life. And there are voluntary options for so many different things, not just health care, but all you have to do is take that initiative, do the work, get out there, find your passion. You don't even have to get out there. That's almost wrong. You can sit on your computer and do a lot of this. If you're sitting at
That's
home and you're socially distancing or you're under lockdown or quarantine, you know what? Fill your time by helping people. It'll make you feel better.
absolutely. I can't disagree with you more. Hey Jim, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to have you put up Tim because we're just about done with our hour, but we'll go a little bit over, which is always fine with me, guys. I know I never go 60 minutes. It just doesn't work that way. And thank God I'm not a network TV show that has to worry about it. But I'll put Tim up on the screens. Tim, just give out whatever you want to the people. Give yourself a couple of minutes to plug yourself, plug whatever you want, but say whatever it is you want to get off your chest and what's important.
All right, brother. So, yeah, guys, upstate New York, we've got to change we've got to recognize the regulatory process has damaged us. It has damaged our opportunities to do business with each other. We have a land use deficit in Senate District 51 on the order of 40 to 50,000 acres of land. Legalizing, deregulating, and offering our farmers the opportunity to produce hemp and cannabis in whatever form they want to, in whatever form can benefit their families and their communities, is an opportunity that we have. Now, look, let's be honest. New York State, if I don't get there and Thomas doesn't get there and 5 other libertarians don't end up there, they're going to do this wrong. But we have to be prepared to fight this battle. Change the dynamics. And guys, the other thing is build bridges. To my libertarian friends, to my Republican friends, to my liberal friends, let's build some bridges between each other because what's going on right now is not okay. But I forgive you, you forgive me. Let's have conversations about the best way forward, about what we should be talking about. And if we have these conversations, guys, we're going to see certain things are going to become clear. And it's a joke that I make regularly. You've got your Coke, you got your Pepsi. Those guys used to fight over platitudes back in the 80s just to crap on. The greatest cola of all time, guys.
RC.
Tastes like freedom. But seriously,
That reminds me of RCA.
But seriously, guys, that's what's really going on with the Democrat Party. And this is with all due respect to the people inside of those parties, guys. they have crafted this system where they pretend to be at war, right? And so they elevate themselves. They are the customer of the state, okay? And they've forgotten all about us. We don't have a system of checks and balances because our rights are being constantly ignored because we can't afford to play the game on this. Oh, Helen's mad at me. I'm sorry, Helen. But listen, we can't afford to play the game on the level there, okay? It was just a sip. It was just a sip. Another little sip. It was a good goal.
She's a soda Nazi.
Guys, that's my Facebook
She
page.
said
You can join me there. Please do. I do a lot of work talking to people. I'm doing a lot of work trying to help spread the libertarian message. And guys, I'm having fun doing it. All right. So meeting Peter and Helen, and of course Thomas and I have been interacting practically from the word go, and talking to Larry and guys like Tony at the LP, and learning about who we are and what we're trying to do. It's been a great experience for me. And I'm here for you guys too, man. Let's not forget that. This is not a one-way street.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thomas, your turn, brother. Hop up on that main screen and let people know what they can do. Again, we know you need people, so let's get them to you.
So my campaign's going pretty well, and what we're looking at needing right now is more volunteers. We need volunteers in district and boots on the ground, but we also need some remote work volunteers. So if you have a skill, if you're a libertarian, if you're not a libertarian, if you just like what I have to say, reach out. Campaign manager at tomfor52.com, TOMFOR52.com. Feel free to go to the website. That's again, TOMFOR52.com. Consider a donation, read the platforms. And you know what? Keep an eye on it. It's growing. We're active. We're talking to people. We're listening to their problems, and we're developing more policy every week.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Hey, guys, I want to thank you both for being on my show. You're always welcome. Again, we're going to see you both at one point in time on Adam versus the Man as well. We're making that connection and getting you over to Adam Kokesh. Adam asked to definitely have you guys reach out to him, and I'll send you, Tim. I got to send you the info.
Yes,
I already
please.
sent it to.
Yes, I was scheduled today, I believe.
You guys get on. Hey, listen, the more our voices can be heard, the more we're going to gain. The Libertarian Party is, again, as these gentlemen have said, people like you and me that want to help, that want to reach out, that want a better America. That's what we want. What I can ask of the R's and D's is this, and this alone. Forget the R, forget the D, and remember who you represent. That's why you were hired. That's why you were elected. Let's keep the people in mind in every decision you make. Guys,
Public
that's our
service.
episode. That's our episode of Voluntary Option this week. Please visit us again at patreon.com/CWT 420 TVO. Get yourself a membership. Keep these productions going. Make sure you're supporting these guys. Follow them. Get to their websites. Listen, if you can only afford $5, they're not going to say, oh, he only gave me $5. Every penny counts. Everything gets us to getting over the hump. That's it from us at the Voluntary Option this week, folks. Live the freedom in which you want, because that's what you were promised when we formed this country.